Hey everyone, welcome back. Today, over the next couple of weeks, the United States is in for an active and intense period of winter weather as several storms are expected to bring heavy snowfall, ice accumulation, and dangerously cold temperatures. These winter storms, combined with an Arctic blast that will sweep across nearly the entire country next week, will create hazardous conditions for millions of Americans. Today, we're going to break down exactly what you need to know about these incoming weather events, what areas will be affected the most, and how the forecast is shaping up for the days ahead. To start off, we already have a significant winter storm impacting parts of the country today. Freezing rain and snow are currently moving into the Northeast, leading to treacherous travel conditions. In addition to the winter weather in the North, severe storms have also been ongoing in the South, particularly in Kentucky and Tennessee, where a rare 5 tornado risk for February was issued overnight. Tornado risks this far north in early February are quite unusual, but given the instability in the atmosphere and the influx of warm air ahead of the storm system, conditions were primed for tornadic activity. That threat is expected to continue through the morning and into the afternoon, with the possibility of additional isolated tornadoes or damaging winds in parts of Tennessee. Meanwhile, back in the Northeast, heavy snow and freezing rain will persist throughout the day before gradually tapering off overnight. However, this is just the beginning of what is shaping up to be a very active stretch of winter weather. But before we get into the details, hit the subscribe button, like this video, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for your support. As we move into the weekend and next week, additional winter storms are expected to develop, bringing widespread snowfall and icy conditions to various regions. At least 2 more winter storms are likely to impact the Northeast in the coming days. So residents should prepare for more rounds of heavy snow and potential disruptions. In the Great Plains, things are relatively quiet at the moment, and the West Coast is also seeing a brief break from the series of atmospheric river events that have brought relentless rain and mountain snow in recent weeks. While some lingering showers and cold temperatures remain California, Oregon, and Washington, the good news is that drier conditions are finally returning to the region. Looking ahead to the next major winter storm, the system is expected to begin developing on Saturday morning, initially bringing moderate to heavy snowfall to parts of the Midwest and the northern Ohio Valley. Areas including Wisconsin, Michigan, southeastern Minnesota, and northeastern Iowa will likely see accumulating snowfall throughout the day. As the storm intensifies Saturday evening, it will expand in coverage and strength, spreading heavy snow across southern Canada, New York, northern Pennsylvania, and eventually into New England by early Sunday morning. Meanwhile, areas farther south, including northern Indiana, central Ohio, southern Pennsylvania, and parts of Maryland, will see a mix of freezing rain, sleet, and snow. This system is expected to be more significant than the one currently affecting the Northeast due to its intensity and the heavier precipitation rates associated with it. By Sunday morning, much of New England and New York will be experiencing heavy snowfall before the storm gradually moves out, leaving behind lighter snow showers in the Sunday afternoon. However, there's little time to recover before the next round of winter weather begins. As we head into early next week, another system is set to develop, bringing even more snow, ice, and potentially severe weather. This next system will form in a classic battle zone where cold Arctic air moving in from Canada meets the warmer, moisture-laden air being pulled north from the Gulf of Mexico. This setup will create a complex and dynamic storm system with a wide range of precipitation types, depending on location. Current model guidance suggests that this storm will impact the central and southern plains, the Ohio Valley, and the mid-Atlantic region, with snow, freezing rain, and regular rainfall all possible. Severe weather, including thunderstorms, is also a possibility in the deep south as the warm air interacts with the incoming cold front. The forecast for Tuesday indicates that this system will bring an elongated area of snowfall stretching from the central plains through the Ohio Valley and into parts of the Northeast. At the same time, severe weather could develop in the deep south, adding another layer of complexity to the situation. Given that this forecast is still several days out, there is some uncertainty regarding the exact placement of the heaviest snowfall and the southern extent of the cold air. As the week progresses, updates will be crucial in determining how this storm will evolve. By Wednesday, the system is expected to push offshore, though additional winter storms could be lurking beyond that. Beyond the middle of next week, long-range models continue to suggest an active pattern with additional winter storms potentially impacting the country into mid-February. While confidence in forecasting details more than 6 or 7 days in advance remains low, there is a growing consensus among meteorologists that the Northeast will continue to see significant snowfall through the middle of the month. Some computer models including the GFS and European models, indicate the possibility of another major winter storm around February 15th. This aligns with previous forecasts that have suggested February would be an active period for winter weather, with multiple snowstorms and an Arctic blast setting the stage for a prolonged period of cold or stormy conditions. Speaking of cold air, one of the biggest stories next week will be the arrival of an intense Arctic blast, which is expected to send temperatures plummeting across much of the country. By the middle and end of next week, frigid air will begin filtering into the Great Plains and Midwest, with temperatures well below average for this time of year. Meanwhile, the East Coast will remain relatively mild initially, but as the Arctic air continues to build, it may eventually push farther east, leading to a significant cool down there as well. By February 17th, some models suggest a sharp drop in temperatures across the United States, with an expansive area of bitterly cold air potentially moving southward from Canada. While model consistency has fluctuated on the exact timing and extent of this cold air outbreak, recent trends indicate that we could see another period of extreme cold affecting a large portion of the country. In terms of snowfall accumulation, the probabilities of at least 1 inch of snowfall over the next 7 to 10 days are very high for much of the Midwest, Ohio Valley, and Northeast. Dark red areas on the probability maps suggest an 80-90 chance of snow accumulation in these regions. Even areas farther south, including parts of Texas, have a low to medium chance of seeing some snow. For those wondering about the potential for more than a foot of snow, the Northeast is the most likely region to experience heavy snowfall over the next couple of weeks, with probabilities also in the 89 range. Some locations in New England may even receive 2 to 3 feet of snow as multiple storms impact the region. For the upcoming weekend storm, snowfall totals are expected to be significant, particularly in the upper Midwest and Great Lakes regions. A widespread 3 to 6 inches of snow is likely in Minnesota and Wisconsin, with higher amounts of 5 to 10 inches possible in certain areas. Michigan will likely see 3 to 6 inches of snow, while Iowa and northern Illinois may receive a coating to an inch or two, with ice being a greater concern in those areas. In the Northeast, snowfall totals will be higher, with parts of southern New England and southeastern New York expected to see 4 to 8 inches of snow. Some localized areas may approach a foot of snow, particularly if snowfall rates are higher than expected. Northern New England and western New York will likely receive 3 to 6 inches of snow, though these numbers may increase as the storm approaches. Now let's take a look at the Winter Storm Severity Index, because we're seeing some elevated impacts out in the High Sierra in California. Over the next 3 days, the highest elevations of California are going to get buried under snow. This is going to create extreme travel conditions, and that extends into the Cascades too. But this is just the first storm. We've also got storm number 2 moving in, and it's going to impact the eastern U.S., just like this one. Then there's storm number 3. But let's hold off on that one for now and take it one storm at a time. All right, here's how this ice storm is going to play out. Thursday, February 6th, around 2 a.m., we're going to see some heavy icing in the central Appalachian Mountains. Think Pennsylvania, Maryland, West Virginia, and Northern Virginia. Light icing will also be affecting parts of southern Michigan, northern Indiana, and northern Ohio. If you're in Cleveland, you could hear some thunder while it's sleeting or freezing, raining. Yes, thunderstorms in the middle of a winter storm. It's definitely one of those you don't see that everyday moment. So keep an ear out. Meanwhile, in the upper peninsula of Michigan and parts of Ontario, it'll be all snow. But let's focus on that heavy ice that's going to hit between 4 and 6 and Thursday morning. This is the time frame when the worst conditions are going to hit places like Hagerstown and Cumberland. Power outages are a real concern here, and road conditions will be extremely hazardous. Even if you're not in the core of the storm, places like Scranton and Philadelphia are going to see a heavy burst of snow followed by sleet and freezing rain, making Thursday mornings going to be treacherous. Just look at this forecast for 6 a.m. Heavy snow will be moving into New York City, while icing continues in southern Pennsylvania. If you're in the Baltimore or D.C. area, sleet will be falling at this point, making travel a nightmare. For most people, it'll be just a glaze of ice, but in places like State College, Harrisburg, and even down toward Cumberland and Hagerstown, we could see half an inch or more of ice. That's the kind of situation where you want to have your generator ready and make sure it's fueled up. You might be looking at a couple of days without power, so prepare for the worst case scenario. By late morning on Thursday, New York City will be getting heavy snow, while areas like Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Boston will be seeing snowfall around noon. By 3 or 4 p.m., it'll be wrapping up for most areas. Most of the snow will be light, maybe an inch or 2. But if you're in the higher elevations of the Adirondacks or the White Mountains, totals could be higher. But really, the snow part of this storm is less concerning. It's that ice on the southern side of the storm. That's the big threat. Now let's talk about the southern part of the storm. We're also looking at severe weather potential for Kentucky, Tennessee, and possibly parts of Ohio. There's a marginal risk of severe storms today, February 5th, with about a 2 chance of tornadoes. This includes areas like Bowling Green, Nashville, Jackson, Tennessee, and even Louisville. While tornadoes are unlikely, I wouldn't be shocked to see a brief 1 or 2, especially around Bowling Green. So looking at the radar for this evening, around 8 or 9 p.m. Central Time, you'll start to see some storms moving into areas like Lexington and Somerset, Kentucky. These storms are going to move fast and they could bring hail with them. In my neck of the woods, between Huntington and Pikeville, we're going to be dealing with some lightning, thunder, and heavy rain. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Some of the stronger storms won't even really start going until 6 a.m. Thursday morning. By then, we'll see a pretty strong line of storms moving through southeastern Kentucky, and these won't be over until around noon. So what's coming after storm number 1? Well, once we get through this one, all eyes turn to California. Thursday into Friday, the high Sierra is going to get hit with a ton of snow, and we've got moisture coming in from the Pacific, which could lead to flooding in the Central Valley. This is going to be another atmospheric river situation that's going to last until at least Friday. From there, it'll move over the Great Basin and into the Rockies. We could see heavy snow in Wyoming, South Dakota, and North Dakota as we roll into February 7th. And after that, we've got storm number 2 rolling into the east. This one looks like it's going to pack more punch than the current storm we're dealing with. By Saturday, February 8th, we could be looking at another ice storm for places like South Central Pennsylvania and Virginia, with heavy snow in Southern Ontario and Michigan. It's too early to get into snow totals, but I think we'll be seeing a storm that's stronger than the current one. Finally, storm number 3. This one's a week away, but by February 11th and 12th, it could be a big deal. We've got a strong signal right now for a major winter storm along the East Coast. Think classic nor'easter, heavy snow along the I-95 corridor from D.C. to New York City, and the models are showing a pretty big hit for New England. It's still a week out, so we don't know exactly how this will unfold, but it has the potential to be one of the biggest storms of the season. And that's not all. Over the next 10 days, we're expecting above average precipitation in the southeastern U.S., especially between February 10th and 14th. That could bring flooding risks to the Tennessee Valley, Dixie Alley, and parts of the southeast. And the farther north you go, ice and snow could be in the mix too. All right, that's all the weather news for today. I know it's a lot to digest, but stay tuned because tomorrow I'll have more updates for you as these winter storms continue to develop. Thanks for watching, and make sure you're prepared for whatever comes your way. I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe.